Next up in the Farming Simulator field guide is liming. So you can see here we have a cultivated field. If you're not sure how to do that, have a little look at one of the other parts in the playlist that this is part of. But when we lime a field, you will know because if you walk up to the field, it'll say it needs lime. And if you want to change your camera as you're moving around, that's just C or whatever button it shows up at the top left. So you can see we've got our young farmer here looking good on a farm, man. So how do we lime? How does that all work? And why do we need to do it? Well, every 3 seasons, if you're working with crops like wheat, you will need to lime the field. That will get you a 15% yield bonus, so it's worth doing generally for that. But the gear you need is expensive and you don't get it on the starter farm. So I'm going to show you a method to lime. There are other methods to lime as well, but the one I'm going to cover will do it really quickly. Now, I said in the introduction to this field guide that you really need to be thinking about economies of scale. So if you lime just one field every 3 seasons and just hire the gear for that, it works out quite expensive. So you're better off to try and lime all your fields at the same time if you can. So if I was working this farm for real, I would be harvesting those 2 fields there and the full field that we own and looking to line them all on the same month so I could lease the liming gear and get the most out of it. But because we're just focusing on one field to get used to the process, this isn't going to make much financial sense, but you'll at least see the process. So we need to get a lime from the shop. You don't have to do this, but like I say, if you do it, you'll get that 15% yield bonus. So let's see whether we think it's worth it or not. Here's a quick tip for you. If you want to get your tractor quickly to the shop, if you move away from it, so you jump out the tractor with E, and then have a little look by hitting escape at the tractor here, select it and choose reset. That will send it immediately to the shop for you. So you can see that's gone. I'm also going to reset this little weight that I've got here because that's quite useful for the liming system that we're going to use. So they are now at the shop. And then if I hit tab, ta-da, I'm at the shop. How cool is that? Do you know, I played this game for ages, never really thought about doing that until the other week. So I have a separate video on that, but pretty cool, huh? An extra tip for watching this detailed guide. So we'll move forwards. We're attaching the weight that we had on our tractor. So we need to get a liming system. So for that, we're going to have a little look at the shop with P. And these are all the different vehicles we've got on the left-hand side. And there are various different ways you can lime in the game. The one I'm going to show here is using a fertilizer spreader, and we're going to spread solid lime. So we're going to double click on this. And if you have a little look at these spreaders, these can spread fertilizer, but this one here has this little icon, which means it can spread lime. And it can do it at up to 18 meters width here. So that's quite nice, 12 to 18 meters here. So it will do a good job for us. It can also hold 9,000 to 14,000 liters of stuff. Now, we only need about 3,000 liters of lime in this case because the field's not that big. But if you buy lots of lime, you'd be obviously able to do more of the fields, which is what I would suggest. You can see this isn't cheap at 45,000. So you need to think, is this worth it or not? The one thing is that you're going to get a yield bonus for 3 years, 15% off the first year, 10 on the second, 5 on the third. So they will add up, but that assumes you're going to play the game for 3 years. But you could just hire this once, and I suggest you lease it because it's going to sit there doing not a lot unless you're going to use it for fertilizing. Personally, I think this is a nicer choice for fertilizing, which I'm going to talk about. So we're going to lease it. Double click it. And then a lease here. Okay, so we're going to say, yes, please. This is going to cost me 2,000 or 2,300 thereabouts. So we go, yes. We've picked that up from the shop. That's cool. And we also need some lime. Now, you can get lime from either the shop or a liming station. I did a test yesterday, and I was quite surprised that the liming station, if you've got it on easy setting, was about 3 times as expensive as buying it at the shop. So I would buy it at the shop. Not sure if that's a bug in Farming Simulator 25. Always thought it was cheaper at the liming station, but it doesn't seem to be the case here. Anyway, so we need to look at different packs and stuff here. Actually, I think we can get it under Yield Improvements Consumables. Double click that. We need a solid lime for this system that we're going to be using. So this lime here, and 2,000 liters is what we can get for just £450, which is a bargain, my friends. So we'll click this twice, and we're going to get 3 of these. So 1, 2, 3. And that's going to give it, actually, I probably only need 2. Let's just go with 2. So 4,000 liters will do this field. But you can see, to get that 15% yield bonus, it's going to set me back 900 here, plus the 2,300, 3,500 for that 15% yield bonus, but then the 10% a year after the 5%. So just about all right on one field, but work on multiple fields, you'll get better value. So we'll say, yes, we're going to buy that. We obviously can't lease it because it's a consumable. So we'll hit escape, escape, escape. And then we need to attach this bad boy to the tractor. And this tractor I'm using is the John Deere 6R, which I showed in the first part how to get that. But it's not a cheap tractor, but it is a cool tractor. I very much like this tractor. I've got to think about green and yellow. I was like, why is that? But if you look at my logo there, it's green and yellow, so that works quite well, doesn't it? Obviously, it's supposed to be sponsored at some point by John Deere. So reverse back and hit Q. I weren't back as far as I thought, so hitting Q the first time unattached my weight on the front of the tractor, so I'm just attaching that again, because that's going to balance out this hoof and big thing that we've got here. Now, as long as the fertilizer spreader is near, I'm just trying to change the angle here, near the bags of fertilizer on the left-hand side, you should see refill fertilizer spreader. So I'm going to hit R, and then look down below there, it's filling up with lime. And that's good because we want to spread lime. So we just need to wait for that to fill up. We bought 2 bags, so 2,000 litres of bags. So we're going to have 4,000 litres of lime. So hit R again, get the second one in. And like I say, this was on the shop, I think it said 9,000 to 13,000 litres of stuff, something like that. Maybe it's 9,000 because that's looking like 50% would be 4,500. Anyway, I will drive this back to the field and then we will have a little go at spreading lime. So like I showed in a previous one, what I suggest you do before you continue is hit the save button. You then have the autosave, which is every 15 minutes, which means if you fluff it up, you'll be able to quit out, load it back in and have another go at it. So hit escape. Go to the settings here, choose save game, and then have a go at it. If you mess it up, come back to here again and hit quit. Load in your game again, and you can have another go at it. You can also double check your save settings here by checking this, and there's the auto save interval. So that's going to give us 15 minutes to play around and reload if we fluff it up. Timescale, I recommend you leave it on real time to give you plenty of time to do all your crop management or your field work. Okay, so like I showed in the previous one, we can use the AI worker to help out here. So we can either hit H and have the AI worker spread the lime on the field, or we can have a little look at the modes. So what I could do is if I hold down H, go to steer and assist, I don't really like these bits going across because there was a guy on my channel who said, look, I limed in real life, and he said I would always go in, lengthways here and not cut across much because whoever does the next stage of field work is then bumping across these sort of tire tracks that you leave, and it's really painful for them. Now, whilst it doesn't matter in the game, I do get the point. So I'm going to change the headlands to 1. And then this is saying, look, if you go out this orange thing here, you'll do a good covering to this side and then this side and this side. But because this field is about 50 meters wide, that's not quite going to go to this edge. So I'm going to have to manually figure one out at the end. There's not a lot I can do about that. It's just, what we've got here to work with. So I'm going to have to do one manually steering. So we're going to have a little look at this here. Go forwards to, actually, I think I forgot to activate it. So let's do that again. H. Steer and assist is there. OK is what I meant to press. So what we should see as we go forwards is those lines up here. So there's the first one. So I'm just thinking about just trying to straighten up a little bit to hit that. And now that I'm here, I did just clip the front of the thing, but it doesn't matter because we're going to roll over it and stuff later. Hit H to activate that, and then we're going to go forwards. Now, if you fluff this up, like I say, you can use that save file that you got, but you want to be getting used to this. So the spreader is going to fire out the back of the spreader a little bit, so you don't want to turn it on before you're on the field, otherwise you're going to start wasting lime on the back of the field. So as we go here, we're going to turn it on, but it does fly out pretty quick, so you want to turn it on and drive as quickly as you can. So we'll turn it on, and you can see I've sprayed a little bit beyond the field, so it's a bit of trial and error to get it accurate. And then we just go forwards and lime like this. Now, there is an argument that you may not have enough room if you're going to go all the way to the end here, which is, again, is that argument for the headlands. But I think I've got enough room to turn around, and maybe I'll go back to the other place where I've got a bit more space to turn around. We'll have a little look. So we'll just turn off there. I've hit the wrong button. I always do that. I hit V rather than B. I think it's the what you call it? The cultivator is V to lower it. So now I'm just trying to line up nicely on this next one. So we'll just hit H there. And then we will do a B. So again, that's a good reason to have that other option. And there we go. We're going forwards here. Same sort of thing. Now, if you miss tiny bits of the field, it will still count that you've done your liming. So even if you miss the edge slightly, don't worry about it too much. Obviously, you can just keep playing with that save file, but we should see that we've got the big bonus, the 22.5%, once we've limed the field. So I'm going to hit B this time. So B. And I think we did all right there. That wasn't too bad. We'll go to the next one. And H again. And then B. You can see I did that one better. So I'm getting better at it now. So the blue lines, as you can see, that's giving us the width of it. But you can also go inside the tractor here and see how we're going on here. But it is obviously difficult to see in that angle where things are going. And if there's, you know, stuff near the edge, this is the argument for putting in the headlands, that to spread there, I'm now in the trees. So there is, you know, a risk there. I've crashed into a bush. And that is the reason for, you know, working with the headlands instead, because now I can't actually see where the heck I am. So, oh, look at that. So I'm in a right mess here. And there's also a risk of tipping the tractor. So I've got to try and get round nicely now. But, you know, it's personal preference which way you prefer to work, whether you want to drive into the bushes like I am, or, you know, whether you want to just take that here. So you can see I did just miss this bit. Now, this is disgraceful, but I just want to do this. I would normally leave that, but it's going to get my wick, so I'm just going to be terrible here and just line this piece of grass just to get those two bits covered. I know that's shocking, but you get the idea. You would obviously try and do this nice and accurately. So you can see the next one is a little bit difficult to get the angle of it. So I could go down the other end where I've got more room to turn around, or I could say, you know what, game, I agree, we should be using that headland to do it, but I will go here. And you can see just because of the width of the field, we're going to have a, you know, one where we've got to do a bit more, basically a bit of a waste of lime to get that final edge. Or we could just say we're not going to lime that. That's up to you, but I'm going to lime it anyway. I'm going to waste some lime and just show you the fully limed field, because that's going to get on my wick having one bit not limed. You could look, I suppose, for a spreader that could go slightly wider. That might be sensible as well. So, up to you. And you can see I've got a new line here, so it's saying, you know what, you're going to have to go here to get to the edge of the field. And I agree, that's what we've got to do. And you can see also that the amount of lime that we've used just down below. So I purchased 4,000 litres, and we're going to have about, I don't know, 1,500, 1,300 litres left. So that gives you an idea of how much it is to work this field, or rather lime this field. So it costs quite a bit to lime, but that is now good. Well, 3 years. Why is it not turned off? I hit the B. So you can see we got a bit of wastage there, which is, again, the reason for that save file. But there you go. We have limed the field. So now we'll drive back. And we are done. So you can see we've put hoof and big tractor tyre marks in our field as we have limed. That's fine because we can sort that out later. So like I said before, you really want to be liming all your fields at the same time to make maximum use of this limer. So let's assume we've done that. We would then return it. So you can just detach it from the tractor like this, hit escape, and then zoom in on it, and there it is there. And then I can choose return, which will cancel the lease. So that then means I don't need it anymore, and that makes sure that I'm not going to use it any further. The other thing though is if you've purchased too much lime, you're going to lose the lime that you've got in there. You might be able to store it somewhere on your farm. I'm not sure. I'll need to look at that as a separate one, but just in this example, we're just going to return it because there's not that much lime left. But normally I would lime all of these fields that I own, but I'd obviously have to harvest them all before we lime. Another point about liming is I think you have to cultivate first, because I did try it where I mulched this, tried to lime it because it said need liming, then I cultivated and it wouldn't count the lime that I'd done, which I don't know whether that's a bug or not, which is why I'm working this way this time, but that's just a point there. So we'll just send that back. Job done. Jump out of our tractor and let's see whether we've got rid of the liming requirement here. And if we go forwards, you can see, indeed, we have limed. So we are all good, my friends. So there you go. That is how to lime the field in Farming Simulator 25 as part of this guide. We will move on to the next stage in the next one in the series, or you can skip forward to one that you need help with, but I'm covering all the ones here to get us our max yield bonus in this field guide. Hope that helped you out. If it did, thumbs up, much appreciated. Any comments welcome. If you need more help with Farming Simulator 25, have a little look around the channel, or stick with this field guide if you want to see the rest of the series. Thanks.